We're just assembling then our final panel of the day, which will look at Iberia, and delighted to invite Jose to kick things off for us.
Alessi Olivan de Troyes, bienvenue à tous, très content d'être ici, merci beaucoup IPEM. Buenas tardes, bienvenidos a todos. It is time for Spain, and why? Because Spain is a good place to do business. So here we are with four fund leaders, Nexus with Mexico, Nazca, Miura, and Portobello. By the way, where is Juan Luis? He's there. Hello, Juan Luis, Javier, Maite, Almudena. Welcome, everybody. Maite, I cannot introduce you, so go ahead. What happened with you? What happened with Nexus? How Mexico is doing? And what about Spain?
Well, thank you for inviting me. First of all, I love to talk about Spain and private equity, so I'll do this very brief. I'm a founding manager at a very small, medium-sized fund called Nexus Iberia, which, as the word says, we're focused on Iberia and doing very small deals from 3 to 10 million EBITDA, minority majorities. And we have a partnership with Nexus Capital in Mexico. They're the largest private equity there. So we can really support the investments we do to grow internationally, which is the key core to our investment strategy. I've been in business. I was at 3i for about 20 years, and I had the pleasure to also chair the Spanish Private Equity Association, so I'm very happy to be here. And what else did you ask? Spain?
Yes, indeed.
Spain in general. Well,
Yes, indeed.
I think as we probably know, Spain is not exempt of the macro trends we see in Europe. We're still growing above the average European community growth. We are expecting 2 or 3 quarters of flattish growth, and perhaps at 2023 of smaller growth around 2%. I think in the lower mid-market, sometimes I think that our entrepreneurs don't read the press because they still think their company is worth 10 times EBITDA or something. No, but we try to look for companies that are high growth and we can take international and offset the macroeconomic cycles in a way. No?
Well done, Maite. You're doing very well, and we are trying, all of us, to follow you. Yes, indeed. Inigo, my dear, Portobello is a leader, more than 1,000 billion probably under management, and not only in Spain, but also in Luxembourg, Milan. What's going on in Portobello?
Do you mind if I borrow your mic?
Yes,
Okay, thank you, Jose. Well, yes, Portobello, we are an upper mid-market fund. We're managing now 2 billion euros. And we have, as you said, expanded into the Southern European region. We have an office in Luxembourg, but mainly Milan now. We have Portuguese people also in the team because we believe that they reflect a very similar investment criteria. So it's supporting entrepreneurs, which most of the time they remain with us with a minority stake, going further and professionalizing their companies. One of the other things that we have done lately is to expand a little bit our portfolio of products. So basically, we were doing buyouts until recently, and we have launched structured minorities to support entrepreneurs also on those cases in which they don't want to sell majority yet. It's been very successful. We've done a couple of deals which look very promising. That was the latest fund we raised, 250 million in May. We closed. And we have launched, or we're about to close now, a very small fund on impact, on reforestation, which is a CO2, we basically sell certifications for CO2. So yes, that's a little bit the way we see things from Portobello. And I don't know if you want a word also on Spain.
You did very well. Tell us a little bit about your fundraising, because from C19 up to now, in a difficult time, you did very well.
Yes.
Well, I mean, not easy.
Yeah, what we have done since the COVID started, we have done different things. We raised one secondary fund. We've raised one co-investment fund. We raised the structured minorities I mentioned before, and we're now closing this one. Altogether, it's 800 million that we have raised since COVID started. So I think that the message is, it's a tough market for fundraising, but as long as you give the right product to the LP, I think that they are willing to put money to work.
Actually, you raised more than 100 billion euros?
We raised 800.
800 million.
800
Super.
million. 800
Fantastic.
million. Yeah. So I think I think it's important. And so I think it's important to get the right product. Obviously, they're looking a lot at co-investments and secondaries, impact funds, different things, but also the conventional flagships, the conventional buyout funds. I think we have to convey the message also, and we will talk about, I'm sure, this later, that Spain is a very interesting place in the coming years. That's the way we see it. That's the way we saw it in 2013 when no one believed us. And probably the fund we raised the following year is probably a very good performer.
Great, well done, Íñigo. Well done, Juan Luis. Congratulations, Portobello. My dear Juan Lich, Barcelona. You're an expert in a lot of things, but also in agro, in a lot of things, in ESG and so on. Tell us a little bit about you and Miura, please.
Madrid. Also, we all have an office in Madrid now, so we are growing also in Madrid.
On top of that.
No, basically, Miura is a mid-market fund. Actually, the last main fund is a 330 million fund. We are now raising. We made the first close in July of an impact fund, 150 million impact fund, and we actually raised in 2019 a global agri fund, 360 million global agri fund. So we have like 3 different strategies. The main fund coming into the market soon. And I would say that from Spain, moving internationally, being specific in a sector like agro or being Southern Europe is, I think, one of the things that we need to do, just to go out of our frontiers, I would say, because we are actually giving to the market the right returns, and we need to grow actually to be able to compete in a global scale.
You talk about Barcelona and Madrid. I'm coming from Pamplona. I follow Osasuna, very well. But we have to talk also about Valencia and Malaga and Salamanca and Bilbao, where we were this last Monday with an accelerator. Galicia, where everything started. We have a real ecosystem. We're talking about real economy, more than 10 unicorns, something like 200 scale-ups, more than 10,000 startups. And what is more important, present and future, Spain ranks 3rd or 4th in Europe about potential unicorns, okay? Why? Because we have talent and we have ecosystem with corporates, universities, startups, investors, public and private sector, okay? You know a lot about this, my dear Álvaro Mariátegui from Nazca. You're doing a lot of things. I like very much your portfolio. I like your advisory board. And of course, you know a lot about impact. So what can you tell us about it, please?
Well, thank you, Jose. My name is Álvaro Mariátegui. I'm one of the co-founders and co-managing directors of Nazca Capital. We created the firm 22 years ago. We have invested close to $1 billion, closed 90 transactions, and since the origin of Nazca, we have focused on growth. Our leverage, our know-how is local. What we defend when listening to all the pan-European funds is that our strength lies on our network and in origination. Our evolution has been basically through failures. We understand that remaining a generalist is a weakness. So we have decided to, over the years, to invest increasingly in those industries in which we think we have some expertise. And this includes agribusiness, this includes technological-based business services and healthcare. And we think that the trend for the generalist funds in Spain and in other countries is to leverage on the combination of being very strong locally and also have some expertise in specific industries.
Yes, indeed. Actually, we are more than 50 members of the Spain Cup, Building a Sustainable Future. As you know, I am representing here the Spanish Venture Capital and Private Equity Association, but it's not only private. We have more than 6 venture funds around, and this is important, and something is changing even here in Vipen, in Cannes. So Maite, why Spain? Why we are again doing investments for more than 5 billion in the half part of the year, with something like 400 operations. This year again is going to be a year of record, in spite of C-19, inflation, Ukraine, and so on. We are there. Why? What do you think?
Well, I think if we look at the economic structure of Spain, we are populated with a super high percentage of small, medium-sized companies that tend to be good and high growth, but it's difficult to compete with the equivalents of Germany and France because we never reach the critical mass of size. So if you think that way, I think most of us that are in this panel, we have a great pool where to originate from. No, in our lower mid-sized fund, we've identified over 10,000 companies within that EBITDA range. That number one, you can do consolidation of sectors. No, we have very fragmented industries. We know that trade buyers and pan-European funds love to buy market leaders, whatever the sector is. So if you can make a Spanish champion of any subsector, I think we have a great fragmented structure of companies where to look at, no? Number two, I think we're great at exports. I think our Spanish entrepreneurs have done this beautifully in the last 2 or 3 crises, and this is something that drives growth and kind of offsets any down cycle in the Spanish economy. So we're always looking for companies based on their international capability. Number 3, I think Spain has a great pool of management. I remember talking at MBA universities 20 years ago, and you had to explain what a management buyout was or what a management information system is. Right now, the pool of talent we have in the Spanish economy is great for private equity. When you need to professionalize family-owned companies, make the transition from family-owned to professionally run companies, you compare that to other markets in LATAM, and there's a big scarcity of management talent in the market. So I think we're very lucky that we can pull upon that talent to bring them into our companies. And I also think that we can be very disciplined on pricing, because some of these companies are not super sophisticated in terms of bringing in corporate finance and running auctions and all that. So you can still get a lot of proprietary deals, although proprietary is a overused word. But I think what Alvaro is saying, you can still look at deals through your network or create deals, and probably in other markets where the market is deeper, that's very difficult to do.
I fully agree with you. And although Spanish people, we like to do things in our own way, you said 3 points very important, I will remark, which are: we have managers, we know how to buy and to sell companies and to manage, and on top of that, remember, Mexico, we are a bridge with Latin America, which is a huge market, okay? Inigo, what's the trends now in the Spanish economy? What about the future? We are talking again about the real economy, something our present portfolio, 40 billions in the sector, with something like 3,000 companies, more than 90% SMEs, and something like 500,000 employees. What do you think is the trend? Thank you.
Yes. Well, I think that we are seeing a different society after the years that we have lived post-COVID, and with the the happenings that we are envisioning these days. So I think that we have to pay attention to how are these things going to impact going forward. I think that we are clearly a more conscious society. We're looking at sustainability, mobility, climate change, impact, ESG. All these things are going to be present in the minds of the people these days. But I think that we also have to look at what are the macro trends that we're going to be seeing in the country, which I think might be a little bit different to what we might be seeing in different countries in Europe or elsewhere, and that I think that are going to be positive for our investment environment. I think that Spain has within its economy sectors which are now trendy. I mean, services. Spain is very strong in services and particularly in tourism and leisure. And I think that coming out of COVID, we're going to be seeing, and we've seen it this summer, and I think we will see it again in the coming years, strong willingness to enjoy life, to travel, to take advantage of the good things that surround us while we can. And I think that Europe is going to be, with all the particularities that we have, the war and everything, it's a safe haven. And I think that we're going to be, in this particular sense, as a tourist destination, we're going to have advantages towards more riskier environments. I think that health is also something that we have been seeing that it's relevant, very relevant. And I think that Spain has a very substantial potential for investing in health, in the health sector. And after the COVID, we have put extra relevance into this sector. I think that there are elements also related to the energy. I think that Spain is a very solid in terms of the dependence or non-dependence in this case from the Russian gas. We have the largest network of liquid gas in the coasts of Spain in Europe. We are also connected with tube to the southern gasoducts of Algeria and Morocco. And we have less than 5% dependence from the gas from Russia. So I think that this is definitely something that will affect Spain positively, their industries and so on. The trend towards agribusiness, we mentioned food, healthy food. I think that that's also very in the minds and consciousness of our people. And then I think that a couple of other extra elements that are going to be impacting Spain in the future are, and which I think are positive, the labor market. I think that one of the pressures that we're seeing around the world, the US, 3% unemployment, UK, are tensions on the labor market. I think that we still have 30% unemployment. We definitely have more tensions than a couple of years ago, but still in a service economy like Spain, not having that pressure on inflation on labor, I think is going to be good for the coming years. And then we have the pushback of the Spain and Italy, countries in which we plan to invest, are going to have the largest stimuli post-COVID. So I think that we have a good macro environment to invest in, and we just have to be open to what's going on the mindsets of the customers and the society in general.
Thank you, Íñigo. I fully agree with you. We are very strong in bio. Actually, we have some of the funds are around Viable, also Asavis. They are here, and take a note about them. And of course, talking about energy, we are very strong also in renewable energy, windmills and so on. But coming back to ESG impact, Juan Miura, I think you have a lot of things to tell us, please, and also about your last fund.
Yeah, I think, as I was mentioning, we are raising an impact fund, fully dedicated, lower mid-market. I think what we need to understand about impact is that now is no longer a compromise between returns and impact. And I think there's still a sense that this is something which goes against the other, and it's not the case, because the trends behind certain sectors are clearly trends that are going to develop the growth of those sectors clearly above the rest. Okay, so this is something that we see when we speak with LPs. The other thing, I think impact is a new category for a lot of LPs that's still not developed enough in terms of their pockets. So still will grow. And my feeling about impact is that in the long term, most of the funds, the main funds, will have already this kind of impact category. Because when we look at our portfolios, maybe in the past, you realize that some of those deals were actually filling in the category of impact. So at the end, talking about impact or other funds, I think it's a frontier that in the long term will disappear, but still is kind of the early stages, and there's kind of a development in the mind of the LPs that this is a trend to continue and to grow in the next, I would say, 10, 15 years. There's not going to be society without a conscious investment, and us, as leaders in the investment arena, I think we need to be in the forefront of the impact and the consciousness about the planet and certain aspects of the ESG.
Sure, I mean, impact, it is not a choice anymore, it's a philosophy, it's a way of being, a way of living. Okay, Alvaro, please, Nazca, you've been more than 20 years in the market, you have more than 35 people with you, you have at least 3 internal levels. We can see in the market a trend. We are going global. We are global, okay? You said before, we are not here just private equity, also venture capital. Some of the funds are doing also infra, debt, and so on. What's your opinion about it, please?
You mean in terms of the private equity?
Future trends, yeah.
Future trends in the industry. Yeah. Well, I think that we will see, and these 3 days, everybody's talking about specialization. I mean, when you listen to the US funds or to the European funds, the US market is highly specialized. And we think that Spanish GPs will have to specialize somehow. Probably will not be only one specialization, but at least developing some know-how. Because one of the things we're finding when we visit families is our segment of expertise in which, we understand how they think, we understand what they're looking from a private equity when they want to exit partially or totally. But what they're basically looking is expertise or experience. And a large part of that is sectorial expertise. So they want to understand what the focus should be for the strategy of the company. And private equities, at least in Spain, coming from a general background, when they face these situations, it's very difficult to convey to families that you have that sectorial expertise. So I think that's going to be one of the evolutions. The second, I think, is going to be add-ons. We've been afraid historically of international add-ons. Now we're seeing more and more private equities, it's our case, buying companies in the US, in Norway, as far as Australia. This is something new. We were afraid of having the management capacity to do that. And as Maite pointed out, our managers are able to complete acquisitions abroad. This is a big, big step. We are also seeing, as we've discussed today, ESG issues. That's something which is already in all our investment thesis, and the sustainability strategies, which I agree is something which we all have to include in our long-term strategies.
Sure. We have to be specialized in, I would say, in a global environment. Okay. Maite, we are in front of European LPs, and next month, as you very well know, we are celebrating in Paris, actually, and for the first time, our LPs GPs meeting at EY's Promises in La Défense. I hope to see you, all of you there, okay? You are invited, the 17th and 18th of October. So what's your time fly? So we have to rush. What's your last message to our dear LPs? Why Spain again?
Well, I think I've always thought that the key thing in life is returns, no? So we can specialize as much as you want, but at the end of the day, you gotta kind of, you know, get in front of LPs and say, this has been my return. I think in Spain, we've always had this stigma that in Spain, we take a long time to sell companies. We're not producing the competitive returns to other markets. But I think if you see the returns and the liquidity of the Spanish private equity market, I think it's top quartile in many cases. So, but we've always had this kind of reputation of, you know, you guys take so long, the average holding period is 5 years and beyond. And I think that's not true, actually. And I think we should be benchmarked on a better, and we should communicate this as a sector. Because I still talk to a lot of LPs, and they all use the same old kind of image that we've had for many years, no? So that would be my first message. I think, you know, we're producing, you know, top returns as a sector. Number two, that I think we're as good as any other pan-European fund. As a matter of fact, I think when you work in the small mid-size local origination, you can have better pricing, full access to management teams, which I find very difficult to be in auctions where, you know, you might see the management team in a picture or in a presentation, no? So, you know, I just think we are there, and we should be talking and doing more comparative return analysis compared to other pan-European funds or national funds in different markets, no?
Sure, so serious. Spain is the country of Carlitos Alcaraz, the country of, I'm not joking, Real Madrid, the country of the national basketball national team, the country of Barca, yes, why not, now with Lewandowski, wow, and John Ram and so on. So we have a couple of minutes. Questions from the public, please, if any, because we have now jamón and the jabugo and Spanish wine at our stand. No questions? Okay, you have to run for the jamón.